I didn't move to Portland for the scenery or the lobster rolls. I moved because I needed to disappear. Before that, there was Chicago. Crowded trains, cold wind, and a relationship that turned into something dark. My ex wasn't violent at first, just attentive in ways that felt flattering. He remembered everything I said, every outfit, every password guess he tried, as a joke. Then one night, I woke up and found him sitting beside my bed, scrolling through my private messages, convinced I was hiding something from him. The fear truly set in when he started showing up in places without being invited. Outside my job, outside my apartment, once inside my living room. A restraining order felt like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Papers don't mean much to someone who believes they're entitled to you, so I packed what I could, blocked every traceable account, and moved across the country, hoping my past wouldn't follow. Portland felt quieter, colder, but safe. I found a tiny studio above a closed tattoo shop. I worked nights at a coffee shop because the schedule matched my insomnia. On my days off, I took photos. Abandoned places, empty streets, rusted boats. I liked still things, silent things, things that couldn't chase me. For a long time, I avoided dating apps. I didn't trust myself to see the warning signs before it was too late. But loneliness has a way of wearing you down. One night, fog thick outside my window, I reopened Hinge. I told myself it was just curiosity, but deep down, it was hope, and hope can be dangerous. I scrolled through the usual profiles, gym selfies, dog pictures, guys holding fish, until one stopped me. Daniel, 27. Distance, 0.5 miles away. Bio. Saw you today. One blurry photo, face mostly hidden. A chill moved through me. I hadn't left my apartment that day. Before I could talk myself out of it, I messaged, me. Saw me where? He typed back immediately. Daniel. At the coffee shop. You looked sad. My heart kicked. I didn't work that day. Me. I wasn't there. Daniel. Yesterday then. You had your camera. Black jacket. You took a picture of the alley with the red door. That stopped me cold. That alley wasn't posted anywhere. It was just a private shot I'd taken after closing shift. I should have blocked him. Instead, curiosity pulled me in. He didn't flirt or push. He asked about photography, abandoned buildings, why I liked capturing loneliness. He spoke gently, thoughtfully, like someone who understood silence. For 2 days, we talked. Nothing sexual, nothing invasive, just conversations that made me feel seen, maybe too seen. Then he asked if I wanted to meet. Daniel. Frost Hill Pier, Saturday, 11:47 p.m. The exact time made me pause. Me. Why that specific? Daniel. Less people. My stomach tightened, but I still agreed. Looking back, it wasn't confidence that made me say yes. It was the craving to feel understood without being controlled. That difference blinded me. The night of the meeting, fog rolled over the harbor thick enough to blur the ocean from the sky. The pier was mostly empty, just nets, boats, and the sound of water slapping wood. I arrived a few minutes early, my breath fogged in the cold air. I reminded myself it was public, open, safe. Then I heard footsteps. Evelyn, a voice said. I turned. Daniel stood a few feet away, taller than the picture, thinner, eyes ringed with exhaustion. His expression wasn't nervous or excited, just intent. You're early, I said, keeping my voice steady. He shook his head once. No, I've been here, watching. My pulse stumbled. What does that mean? You take pictures of lonely places, he said softly, stepping closer, because you're afraid you'll disappear and no one will notice. It wasn't a compliment. My hand instinctively touched my camera strap, something familiar, solid. I think I should go, I said. He didn't move aside. You always run, he murmured. Chicago, Denver, Seattle. My body went cold. How do you know that? His lips twitched, not quite a smile. Because I've matched with you before. My breath froze. I thought about old usernames I abandoned. Matches I blocked, accounts I deleted, faces that looked slightly familiar but not enough to trigger alarm. Always a different name, always nearby. My voice barely came out. Who are you? I'm the one who didn't give up. Then he reached into his coat. For a split second I prepared myself for a weapon. What he pulled out was worse in a way. A metal tripod clamp, sharpened, modified. A tool designed to grab, hold, restrain. I stepped back. No, I whispered. We're done. He tilted his head. No, we're finally getting somewhere. Then instinct took over. I shoved him and ran. My boots slammed against the boards, each step echoing through the fog. I could hear him behind me, footsteps too fast, too close. I grabbed my phone to call for help, but opened the camera instead. The flash fired by accident, lighting him up for a split second. Jaw clenched, eyes feral, clamp lifted. That image still haunts me. Just as he closed in, a flashlight beam cut through the fog. "Hey!" someone yelled. An older fisherman stepped from behind stacked crates, broad shoulders, rubber boots, and a heavy dock tool in hand. "You're trespassing," he barked. "Pier closes at 11. Daniel stopped abruptly, eyes flicking between us. The fisherman shifted the tool like he knew exactly how to swing it. "I said beat it." For a long moment, Daniel didn't move. Then slowly, he backed away, never looking at the fisherman, only at me. "We're not done," he murmured. Then he vanished into the fog. I stood frozen until the fisherman touched my shoulder gently. "You're safe now," he said. I wanted to believe him. The police took my statement, examined the photo, and combed the pier. By the time they checked the app, Daniel's profile was gone. No messages, no match record, nothing. One officer sighed and said, "Without a legal name or physical harm, we don't have much." I knew that sentence too well. For a few days, I stayed with a friend. I deleted the dating app, changed my number, updated passwords, moved furniture so I could see my front door from bed. I tried to convince myself it was over. Then, a week later, at 3:02 a.m., my phone buzzed. No contact name. Just a notification from an unknown number. "Nice new curtains." I froze. I hadn't posted them. I hadn't told anyone. The next night, "You always choose apartments with tall windows." Another, "Run if you want, I'll find you." I went back to the police. They traced nothing. Burner numbers, spoofed locations. One officer looked at me and said quietly, "Sometimes these people don't stop. They wait." Now, every time I walk home, I check every reflection, every step behind me. I tape over my webcam. I avoid online dating. I avoid late-night photography. I avoid foggy piers. But sometimes, late at night, my phone lights up again. Still here. Still watching. We're not finished. Whenever someone suggests I get back out there, I smile and change the subject. Because some matches aren't random, some profiles aren't new, and some people don't use dating apps to find love, only access. Long before any of this happened, I thought loneliness was something I could control, something I could keep at a distance like cold air behind a window pane. After my dad died suddenly 2 years ago, something in me shut down. People talked, laughed, asked questions, but none of it reached me. I became a muted version of myself, walking, breathing, existing, but not living. My work as an architectural lighting designer became my excuse to fade away. I told myself the long hours, the precision, the silence, all of it suited me. And maybe it did. My apartment in Fredericksburg overlooked a frozen canal, the kind that reflected slate-gray skies and bare branches, a perfect mirror of how I felt inside. Minimal furniture, clean lines, no clutter. Nothing unnecessary. My mother called every Sunday from Odense. Her voice always held that soft tremor of someone trying not to pry too hard. Are you meeting anyone lately? Sometime. You sound tired. I'm fine. I wasn't lying. I genuinely believed numbness was safer than hurting again. Then one night in January, while snow tapped lightly against the glass, a strange restlessness stirred inside me. Something like grief. Or maybe hope. Without thinking too deeply, I downloaded Bumble. I didn't want love. I barely expected conversation. I just wanted proof the world outside still existed, that I wasn't entirely invisible. Scrolling through profiles felt like window shopping for lives I no longer knew how to take part in. Smiling couples, people in groups, faces caught mid-laughter. Then I saw her. Maya Rud, filmmaker, bold eyes, a red coat that stood out against a gray coastline. Something about her profile didn't feel curated. It felt intentional. And for the first time in months, curiosity overpowered fear. I swiped right. From the first message, she spoke differently than anyone else. Not small talk, not the usual "what do you do?" or "what's your favorite pizza topping?" Her first message read, "People build walls not to keep others out, but to see who's willing to climb." I stared at it for almost 5 minutes before responding. "And what happens if no one climbs?" She replied instantly. "Then they learn they were never worth the effort of others. Loneliness can be a teacher or a prison." I should have recognized the red flag, but after years of emotional quiet, her intensity felt like oxygen. Over the next few days, our conversations deepened. We talked about grief, fear, identity. She asked things no one ever asked me, questions that felt like scalpels removing emotional armor. "Do you think you'd protect someone even if it cost you something?" "Yes," I answered too quickly. "Why?" "Because someone should have protected my father." There was silence. Then she wrote, "I'm glad you matched with me." We moved to late-night video calls. She filmed documentaries and experimental short horror films. Her apartment always appeared dim, blackout curtains drawn, a faint amber glow from string lights behind her. Her face was expressive, intense, almost hypnotic. She smiled rarely, but when she did, it felt earned. One night, after 2 weeks of talking, she leaned closer to the camera and whispered, "I want to meet you in person. I feel like I already know you." My heart raced. Fear and longing collided. "When?" I asked. "This Saturday, 6:45, Blue Parrot Vegan Cafe." I said yes, even though something inside me whispered, "Be careful." Saturday evening felt colder than usual. I arrived early at the Blue Parrot only to find the windows dark and the door chained shut. A faded, permanently closed sign hung inside the glass. Before I could overthink, my phone buzzed. "I'm 2 minutes away," Maya said softly through the phone. "Just wait. There's a better place." She arrived exactly as she looked in her photos. Red coat, sharp eyes, snowflakes melting into her dark hair. She smiled when she saw me, a slow, careful expression, like she was memorizing my reaction. We walked to a basement wine bar nearby. Dim lighting, soft jazz, tables lit by candles. It was intimate, maybe too intimate. For the first hour, everything felt strangely easy. We laughed. We shared stories. She listened in a way that felt deliberate, like she was studying every word. Then her tone shifted. "There's something I need to tell you." My chest tightened. "What is it?" She lowered her voice. "My ex. He's been following me." I tried to stay rational. "Are you sure?" "He shows up everywhere. Sometimes I wake up and feel someone has been inside my apartment." Anger and protectiveness flared. Not because I knew her, but because the story hit something personal in me. She placed her hand lightly over mine. "Will you walk me home tonight, just until I feel safe?" I hesitated. Something felt rehearsed, but then she looked at me, vulnerable, afraid, hopeful. and the hesitation dissolved. "Yeah," I said. "I'll walk you home." Snow fell thicker as we stepped outside. She kept glancing over her shoulder, not randomly, rhythmically, like she was expecting something or someone. Her apartment building sat near the lake, an old converted warehouse with high ceilings and heavy metal doors. When we stepped inside her unit, something felt wrong immediately. The space was nearly empty, not messy, but devoid of personality. No framed photos, no books, no plants. Just a couch, a mirror, and filmmaking equipment. Tripods, cameras, a ring light pointed toward the mirror like a stage setup. "You're still moving in?" I asked. She didn't respond. She just handed me a glass of wine already poured. My stomach tightened. "You poured this before we came?" Her smile was small, unreadable. "You worry too much, Oliver." I didn't drink it. I set it down carefully. Then, footsteps. Heavy, slow. Directly outside the apartment door, Maya's expression softened into something unsettling, relief. "He's here." I shot through my body. "Your ex?" I whispered. Maya didn't answer. She stepped toward the door like she was welcoming a guest. The doorknob turned. A tall man stepped inside, wearing a dark coat and an expression that wasn't angry. Just blank, dead calm. His eyes locked onto mine. Maya spoke slowly, voice stripped of fear. "He stayed." The man nodded once. "Then he's ready." My pulse roared in my ears. "Ready for what?" I shouted. No one answered. Fight or flight finally screamed through me, and flight won. I bolted, through a side hallway, through a door I hadn't noticed, down a fire escape coated in ice. I hit the ground hard, my palms tore open, but I kept running. I called the police with shaking hands. 9 minutes later, officers entered the building. The apartment was empty. No furniture, no equipment, no sign anyone ever lived there. And Maya's profile? Gone. For a few weeks, I tried to convince myself I had imagined parts of it. The trauma and loneliness had twisted a normal date into something sinister. The police report went nowhere. They logged it under suspicious incident, nothing more. But then the messages started. The first came late at night. "You didn't finish the test." A week later, the others failed too. My stomach dropped with every text. I changed my number. Hours later, the messages appeared again. Same phrasing, same timing. Then, the photo. Me walking home from work. My coat collar pulled high, hands in pockets, completely unaware I was being watched. I moved through my life like prey. Curtains shut, headphones off, alerts heightened. Every heavy step behind me felt like recognition. Every quiet corner felt occupied. And then, one night as I lay awake, my phone vibrated with a notification from a dating app I had deleted weeks earlier. New match, Maya. Same red coat, same lighthouse photo, same eyes. But her bio had changed. Everyone deserves a second attempt. The fear didn't feel loud anymore. It felt cold, quiet, patient. And somewhere deep in me, a realization formed, one I didn't want to acknowledge. None of this was random. None of this was coincidence. I wasn't chosen. I was targeted. Now, I avoid unfamiliar streets. I don't date. I don't meet strangers. And sometimes, when the night is especially still, I hear footsteps outside my door, measured, slow, waiting. Not every person you meet has good intentions, especially those who move quickly toward intimacy, dependency, and emotional connection. Trust should be earned, not given freely. And sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who make you feel seen too fast. Sometimes, what feels like fate is really a warning. When I think back to being 18, the first thing I remember isn't school or friends. It's noise. Arguments slamming through walls, doors shutting like gunshots, silence afterward that felt heavier than the yelling itself. My parents' divorce was the kind that didn't end cleanly. It was slow, ugly, stretched out like a bad movie no one wanted to finish. But everyone kept watching anyway. My escape was simple: headphones and a glowing phone screen. Music drowned out reality. Online conversations replaced the ones I didn't have in real life. I wasn't popular. I wasn't confident. I was just trying to survive. December 2019 felt especially cold. The house was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful, just empty. One night, desperate for connection, I downloaded an app called Matchline. I wasn't expecting anything. Maybe a distraction. Maybe a stranger who could talk to me without needing to fix anything. That's when I came across Evan. His profile felt different. Soft smile, messy hair, quiet eyes. No forced posing, no cheesy captions. Just a simple sentence under one photo. Quiet places are loud if you know how to listen. I stared at that line longer than I should have. Something about it felt familiar, like loneliness dressed up as poetry. I swiped. We matched instantly. His first message wasn't "Hi" or "YED." He wrote, "You look like someone who feels everything deeply." I should have questioned how strange that was, how quickly he tried to read me. But I didn't. No one talked to me like that. No one noticed me like that. So, I replied. And slowly, without realizing it, I let him in. Talking to Evan felt natural, dangerously natural. Our conversations weren't about favorite foods or TV shows. He asked questions no one ever asked. What scares you most? What memory feels unfinished to you? Do you trust easily? Sometimes I paused before typing, unsure whether he was curious or studying me. Still, I answered. He lived in Portland, Maine, near Deering Oaks Park. He said he spent most days wandering abandoned places with an old Polaroid camera. His voice messages were soft, almost careful, like each word was chosen. "You sound like someone who thinks before they speak," he said once. "I do," I admitted. "I like that." Some nights, he'd send photos: foggy docks, empty train stations, dim bookstores with yellow lights. Every image felt lonely but beautiful. He once told me, "Loneliness isn't emptiness, it's waiting." I wasn't sure whether that comforted me or scared me. 2 weeks passed before he suggested meeting in person. "There's a small theater downtown," he said. "Harbor Moon Cinema. It's old, quiet, perfect place to talk." It sounded romantic, cinematic even. I agreed, partly because I wanted to meet him, partly because the idea of being chosen by someone like him felt unreal. The date was set, January 8th, Thursday, 7 p.m. The day of the meetup, I couldn't stop checking my reflection. My hands shook as I left the house. On the walk there, snow covered the sidewalks and streetlights glowed like distant stars. Everything felt unreal, like stepping into someone else's memory. Before I entered the theater, he messaged, "Good, you're early. I hate crowds." A strange chill ran through me. Still, I walked inside. The lobby felt untouched by time. Old movie posters peeling at the corners, rusted velvet ropes, a popcorn machine that hummed like it hadn't been turned off in decades. It smelled like dust and stale butter. I sent him a quick text. "I'm here." His reply came immediately. "Already inside, back row." Something about how fast he responded unsettled me, like he'd been waiting with the message typed out. Still, I bought a ticket from a distracted-looking attendant who barely spoke. When I walked into the auditorium, the lights were low and a trailer played softly on screen. For a split second, I thought I saw someone standing near the back row, tall, still, watching. But when I blinked, the row was empty. I shook it off. Nerves, I told myself. I chose a seat in the middle, second from the aisle. The room was silent except for the hum of the old ceiling vents. I kept glancing back, but no one walked in. 5 minutes passed. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoed behind me. Someone sat directly behind my seat. I didn't turn around. Then my phone buzzed. Evan. Almost there. Parking. My breath caught in my throat. If he was still parking, who was sitting behind me? I forced myself to sit still. The trailers continued, sound muffled, unreal. Then, a whisper. Close. Too close. You smell different than I expected. Every muscle in my body locked. My phone buzzed again. Evan. The theater door is locked. You sure you're inside? Panic surged. I stood, slowly, and walked toward the exit without turning around. Halfway down the aisle, the voice called out again. Playful. You're early. I ran. The lobby felt even emptier than before. The popcorn machine was silent, the ticket counter deserted. Not a single person was in sight. I pushed open the exit door so fast it slammed behind me. Cold air hit my face like a bucket of ice water. And there, standing by the theater entrance, was Evan. Real, breathing, exactly like his photos. He looked confused as I stumbled toward him. Hey! What happened? You look terrified. My voice shook. There was someone behind me. They whispered. They knew. He didn't laugh, didn't brush it off. Instead, he went serious. Come with me. We're calling the police. We stood near the street while he dialed. My hands trembled so badly I had to shove them in my pockets just to stay grounded. When officers arrived, they searched the theater. No one behind my seat, no staff, no customers, no record of anyone selling me a ticket. The theater lights flickered faintly as the officers exchanged looks. One asked me quietly, "Are you sure you weren't alone?" I didn't answer, because I couldn't. I knew what I saw, or heard. I just wasn't sure which part was reality now. Before we left, Evan gently placed his coat around my shoulders. "You're safe," he murmured. "I'm here." For a moment, I believed him. But the next morning, when I opened Matchline to message him, his profile was gone. Not unmatched. Deleted. That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, a new notification flashed on my phone from an account with no name, no picture. One message, 6 words. Next time, turn around and smile. I dropped my phone, and for a moment, I swore I heard breathing behind me again. I wish the story ended there, with police reports, fear, and unanswered questions. But it didn't. Because whatever happened that night didn't stay inside that theater. For weeks afterward, I jumped at shadows, checked behind shower curtains, slept with my lamp on. Some nights I woke drenched in sweat, certain someone was standing just outside my door. At first, I tried convincing myself it was trauma, fear playing tricks on me. But then, the messages started again. First, almost ready. Then, a week later, not yet. Each one vanished seconds after appearing, as if whoever sent them didn't want them saved. One morning, I found something sitting on my front porch, a Polaroid photo of the movie theater seat I had occupied. Empty. Except for a single sentence scribbled at the bottom, "You left too soon." That's when I deleted every dating app on my phone. I changed my number. I blocked unknown messages. I stopped going anywhere alone. The world didn't feel open anymore, just watchful. Years passed. Life continued. But certain places, empty theaters, quiet parks, abandoned buildings, still make my chest tighten. Because sometimes, at the edge of hearing, I still remember that whisper, close enough to feel the warmth of a breath that shouldn't have been there. "You smell different than I expected." I never found out who he was, or whether Evan was truly trying to meet me, or part of something else. All I know is this: some silence feels like peace. Some feels like someone listening, and some feels like someone waiting. Loneliness can make attention feel like connection, but not everyone who notices you has good intentions. Trust should be earned slowly. Protect your boundaries. Because some people don't want love, friendship, or conversation. They want access. And once you give it, it's hard to take back. Some stories don't start with excitement or hope. Some begin quietly, like a door closing behind you that you don't quite remember locking. That's how mine began. In early 2018, I left Brooklyn with the last of my savings, my mom's favorite sweater, and a heart that felt hollow. After losing her to a long illness, grief didn't just hurt. It rearranged who I was. My dad had remarried before the funeral flowers browned, and conversations with friends dried up after the usual. "I'm so sorry," or "let me know if you need anything." I never did. So, I moved to a small rental cabin outside Tacoma, Blue Lantern Road. The listing described it as quiet and peaceful. I didn't know peace could feel like isolation wearing a nice mask. The first night I slept there, I remember the silence. No sirens, no neighbors yelling. Just wind threading through cedar trees and the occasional raven call echoing like an omen. To avoid the silence, I scrolled endlessly on my phone, downloading apps I didn't need. That's when I found Evermatch, a dating app everybody online said to avoid. I don't know why I installed it. Maybe trauma makes you reckless. Or maybe being alone long enough makes danger look like attention. That's how I found Rhett. His profile was bare. One picture, a vague caption, and those pale blue eyes that felt like they were already studying me. Before I could doubt myself, a message appeared. "Strange place to choose if you hate silence." My heart paused. I hadn't written anything about silence. Not anywhere. I should have unmatched. Instead, I replied, "How did you know?" He answered almost immediately. Some people wear loneliness louder than words. It was strange. It also felt true. And that was enough to keep talking. Rhett and I started messaging every night, always after midnight, when the world felt thin and honest. His messages weren't flirty or cheesy. They were deliberate, almost studied. He asked questions about grief, childhood, fears. Questions most people avoid because the answers are hard and messy. But with him, I didn't hold back. He never rushed to share much about himself. When I asked where he worked, he replied, "I work with people, but not in the way most think." When I joked about that sounding creepy, he sent a voice message, his first. His voice was smooth, calm, almost hypnotic, like someone reading a bedtime story while you're half asleep. "You don't have to be scared of me, Evelyn. I understand you." Nobody had said that to me since before my mom got sick. One night, he asked, "Do you ever feel like someone is watching you? Not in a bad way, just seeing you?" I laughed it off, typing, "Only when I forget to close the blinds." He replied, "I noticed." My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen before typing, "What do you mean you noticed?" Minutes passed, then, "Relax, you mentioned the view from your window." I pictured it. I tried to convince myself that made sense, but something felt off. Still, I kept talking, because loneliness can feel heavier than fear. 2 weeks in, he wrote, "I drove past your cabin tonight. It's even prettier in person." I hadn't given him my exact address. My fingers trembled before I typed, "That's not funny." He responded, "You told me the street. Small town, don't overreact." Something inside me tightened, like a wire finally snapping. I didn't reply. For 2 full days, I let the silence sit between us. Then, at 3:27 a.m., my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "You looked peaceful sleeping tonight." I sat upright in bed. My blinds were closed, and someone was outside. The house was dark except for the soft blue glow from my phone screen. My chest was tight, breath shallow, heart thudding so loud I wondered if he could hear it through the walls. I typed with shaking fingers, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, reappeared, then, "Don't do that, you know it's me." I blocked the number immediately. Seconds later, another message from a different number. Blocking me won't help. I threw my phone onto the couch and stood frozen in the dark. The cabin felt smaller now, like the walls were closing around me. I forced myself to move toward the living room window. My hand hovered over the curtain. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look." But I did. At first, all I saw were trees and fog. Then, slowly, shapes began to form. A figure. Tall, still, watching. The moonlight hit his face just enough to reveal those same pale blue eyes from his photo, only brighter, reflective, almost animalistic. My breath caught. Then, knock. Slow, rhythmic, not frantic, not desperate. Like he wanted me to feel the time between each impact. Knock, pause, knock, pause, knock. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. Before the dispatcher answered, his voice cut through the door, calm, controlled. "Don't pretend you don't want this. We connected, Evelyn. Connections matter." My stomach twisted. Finally, the dispatcher picked up. 911, what's your emergency? I whispered. Someone is outside my house. He knows me. He's watching. The dispatcher's tone changed instantly. Get somewhere safe. Do not engage. We have officers en route. I backed away, step by slow step, until I reached the bathroom and locked the door. I sat on the cold tile floor listening. At some point, the knocking stopped. Then, silence. It felt heavier than noise. Finally, I heard a car start. Gravel crunching. Then, nothing. When police arrived, the footprints told the truth. He had circled the cabin, stopped at every window, and left fingerprints on the glass above my bed, where I slept. The officers stayed for about an hour, asking questions I barely processed. Did he ever mention his full name? Did he threaten you directly? What information did you give him? I felt stupid admitting how much I'd shared. Loneliness had made me careless, and now I was paying for it. One officer, a woman named Sergeant Keller, spoke gently but firmly. Listen, you're not the first person to report someone from that app. We've had other complaints. Missing information, unverifiable identities. My throat tightened. Has anyone been hurt? She hesitated, just long enough for me to notice. We don't have proof of that, which wasn't an answer. That night, after they left, I couldn't sleep. Every noise felt intentional. Every creak, every gust of wind, every shift of the house settling. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to stay at a motel near a strip mall. Bright, loud, safe, or so I thought. 2 days passed with no messages. I began to breathe again. Then, just after sunset, my email pinged. The subject line, "Found you." Inside was a single attachment. A photo, me, sleeping, in the motel bed. My stomach turned. I looked around the room, the vents, the curtains, the door peephole. Everything suddenly felt hostile, like the walls were watching. A message followed. You run well. I like that. I contacted the police again, but without proof of physical harm, there wasn't much they could do. So I changed everything. Phone number, bank account, legal name. I moved across the country again, to Arizona, somewhere warm, populated, ordinary. For weeks, nothing happened. And I finally allowed myself to believe it was over. I was wrong. 6 months passed. I started rebuilding my life. New job, new routine, new version of myself. I told no one where I lived. I used no dating apps. I avoided anything that asked for personal details. For a while, I felt normal again. Then, last week, a package arrived at my apartment door. The box had no return label, no shipping company marking. Just my name, my new legal name, written in careful penmanship. My stomach sank. I considered throwing it away unopened, but fear and curiosity are twins sometimes. Inside was a neatly coiled phone charger and a phone. A simple black smartphone. The moment I touched it, the screen lit up automatically, as if it had been waiting for my fingerprint. Messages flooded the lock screen. Everyone from different hidden senders. Missed you. You shouldn't have disappeared. Most people break easier. Do you still sleep near the window? I think about you every night. You can't erase connection. Then one final message appeared, typed in real time. I told you, people don't get rid of me. The wallpaper shifted. It wasn't generic. It was a photo, me, asleep, just last night. I dropped the phone. My breath shook. Somewhere in the building, maybe outside, maybe closer, I heard footsteps. Slow, purposeful, not rushing, just reminding me. He was near, and he wasn't finished. Loneliness can make dangerous people look gentle. Attention can disguise itself as affection, but trust should be earned, never given to strangers hiding behind screens. Protect your boundaries. Your safety matters more than connection, and sometimes the scariest monsters aren't supernatural. They're human. I never considered myself naive. Not after what happened freshman year. Back then, I learned just how little privacy really meant online. Someone I chatted with only twice managed to figure out what dorm I lived in just from the angle of a lamp in the background of my selfie, and the reflection of a parking sign in my window. He never touched me, never threatened me, but the campus police officer who took my report looked me in the eyes and said, "Some people don't need access, they just need clues." That stuck with me. 2 years later, living alone in a small studio above Pike Street in Seattle, I still replayed that sentence whenever someone online seemed a little too curious or a little too confident. But loneliness is persistent. It doesn't care about past warnings or instincts. It just sits with you until you give in. It was November 13th, 2021. The kind of cold, drizzly night where Seattle feels swallowed in fog and neon reflections from wet pavement. I was curled under a blanket with lukewarm tea, scrolling through a dating app I swore I would never download again. I wasn't expecting much. Maybe a conversation, maybe a laugh, maybe nothing. Then I matched with him. Elliot Crane. His profile didn't scream red flag like most. No shirtless bathroom mirror photos. No weird, inspirational quotes. Just clean, normal-looking pictures. A hiking trail. A latte at some cafe. Shots of bookstores in different cities. His smile wasn't overly confident. More reserved. Almost shy. He messaged first. Politely. Respectfully. There was something measured about his tone. The kind of calm confidence that makes you feel like you're talking to someone who thinks before he types. We talked about books first, then music, then childhood memories we never shared with anyone online. Whenever I answered, he asked something thoughtful, not flirty, not creepy, just intentional. And every time my phone buzzed, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, curiosity mixed with hope. Looking back now, I think that's what made everything else possible. Not trust, not excitement, just the part of me that still hoped someone, someday, might be safe. By the end of the week, talking to Elliot had become routine. Morning messages, lunch check-ins, late-night conversations that stretched until I fell asleep with the phone still warm in my hand. He remembered everything, how I took my coffee, how I hated loud talkers on the bus, the exact book I kept meaning to buy but never did. Most people online barely remember your name. Elliot remembered details, maybe too many. Then one night, he finally asked, "Want to meet? Somewhere public. No pressure." My chest tightened, not fear exactly, but caution. The part of me that remembered the dorm incident stirred awake. Still, I agreed. We settled on Elliott Bay Book Company, a place I loved. Warm lighting, jazz playing softly, the smell of old pages and new coffee. A place I felt safe. I arrived early. I always do. I pretended to browse, but really I was scanning, Doors, windows, staff, exits, a habit I developed years ago. When he finally walked in, my stomach dropped. Not from fear, but from recognition. He looked like his photos. Tallish, glasses, calm expression. But something was off. At first, I couldn't place it. Maybe the way he held himself. Too still, too deliberate, like he practiced being normal in the mirror. We sat in the cafe corner. He already knew which drink I liked. "Vanilla oat latte," he said, placing it in front of me. "Extra foam." My breath caught. "Did I tell you that?" I asked. He smiled. "You sent a photo once. Your cup had the label." I tried to laugh it off, but something cold settled under my ribs. The conversation flowed, but every time I shifted, even a shoulder flinch, Elliot's eyes tracked the movement too sharply. Then, casually, he mentioned my window view. Not my neighborhood. My view. A direct line to my apartment. My stomach flipped. "I don't think I ever told you where I live," I said carefully. He blinked, calm. "You mentioned Pike Street. I just connected the dots." No, I hadn't. That was the moment everything changed. I stood abruptly, heart rattling in my chest. "I should get going," I said, forcing a polite tone. Elliot didn't stop me, didn't question. He just watched, expression too blank to read. "Drive safe," he said softly. "Seattle gets dangerous after dark." Something in his voice chilled me, not concern, but certainty. As I stepped outside, the rain hit my face like needles. I walked fast, avoiding reflections in windows. Every shadow felt heavier. Every car felt like a threat. Halfway down the block, my phone buzzed. New message from Elliot. Active now. "Don't rush, we're not done yet." My hands trembled. I didn't look back. But then I saw it. A silver Toyota Corolla idling across from the bookstore. Headlights dimmed. Someone inside typing on a phone. My phone buzzed again. "Left turn takes you home." Another buzz. "Right turn means you want to talk more." The world narrowed into a tunnel. That's when I heard a voice. Not Elliot's. "Riley?" A woman stood under the bookstore awning. Mid-30s, damp hair, exhausted eyes. The kind of tired that isn't from lack of sleep, but from fear. "You matched with him, didn't you?" she whispered. I nodded. Her face broke. Not relief, not fear. Recognition. "Run," she said. "Don't go home. He doesn't stop just because you block him." I didn't ask questions. I ran. I ducked into a crowded bar 2 blocks away and told the bartender someone was following me. He didn't question it, just locked the side door and called the police. When officers arrived, I explained everything. They checked outside. The Corolla was gone. They searched the app. Elliot's profile? Deleted. Messages? Wiped. Photos? Likely stolen. One officer exhaled slowly and said, "If someone rehearses that much, this wasn't his first attempt." That sentence still echoes sometimes. I stayed with a friend that night and the next and the next. Eventually, I moved apartments, new locks, new privacy settings. I even stopped posting photos with identifiable backgrounds. Life slowly stabilized, but the fear never fully faded, because the messages didn't stop. Blocked number after blocked number. "Nice plants in the window." "You shouldn't move again." "We still haven't finished talking." Police traced nothing. No name, no address, no record. Just a ghost with a phone. Months passed. Then a year. Sometimes I convinced myself he lost interest. Other times, I swear I could feel eyes on me from across the street, even if no one was there. I never used dating apps again, not because I fear rejection, but because now I know some people aren't searching for connection. Some people are searching for opportunities. Sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet enough to hear my thoughts too clearly, I replay the bookstore scene. His calm expression, the way he knew things he shouldn't, the way he didn't need access, only clues. Sometimes, when I walk home, I still see silver cars crawl a little too slowly down the street. And every time my breath catches, not because I think it's him, but because I know it could be. And somewhere in this city, or another, someone else is matching with someone just like him. Someone polite, patient, normal, until the moment he isn't. I never thought Fallon, Nevada would feel like a second chance, but when I moved there at 19, that was exactly what it became. Quiet, forgiving, slow. The kind of place where people waved from their porches and the loudest thing at night was the wind hitting the dry grass. After everything that happened in high school, the fake profile, the police reports, the humiliation, I needed distance more than anything. Fallon gave me that. I lived with my older sister, Maya, in a single-story house near the edge of town. She worked nights at the hospital, so most evenings it was just me, the quiet, and the old creaking vents. I kept busy working part-time at AutoZone and saving for community college. Cars made sense to me. Engines didn't lie. Parts didn't pretend to be something they weren't. But loneliness is tricky. You think you're handling it, until you aren't. One night after work, I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone. I told myself I was just bored, but I knew better. Before I could talk myself out of it, I reinstalled the app, Connect Me. The same one that had burned me years ago. My thumb hovered over the login button for way too long. Don't be stupid, I thought. But I tapped it anyway. That's when I met her, Ava. Her first message wasn't flirty or weird. She wrote, Ava, hey, I saw your profile. Where'd you learn engine repair? Looks complicated. It wasn't forced. It wasn't creepy. It felt normal. We talked for hours. Memes, video games, cars, music, like we'd known each other for years. She was funny, sharp, and somehow understood every joke before I finished typing. And as days turned into weeks, I found myself waiting for her messages. She sent voice notes sometimes, soft, low, almost shy. Something about her felt real, safe, even though a small part of me whispered, "You've seen this movie before." I ignored it, because sometimes the quiet gets too loud, and you'll grab onto anything that makes you feel less alone. By week 3, Ava suggested we meet in person. My stomach tightened the second I read it. Ava, I think we'd get along in real life. I typed, erased, retyped. Me. Maybe. I've just had bad experiences. She sent a voice note. Light laugh, soft breath. Liam, I'm real, and I'm not going to disappear on you. It worked. Against every instinct, I agreed. We picked a spot halfway between Reno and Fallon, an old diner off US 50. Locals call it America's loneliest highway. Most drivers just pass through, but the diner stayed alive on nostalgia and tourist photos. September 29th, 6:45 p.m. Orange desert sky bleeding into purple. I parked and sat there for a minute, gripping the steering wheel. Just breathe, I muttered. A few minutes passed. No sign of her. Then my phone buzzed. Ava, can we meet at your place instead? The diner feels too crowded. I looked around. 4 people total. A couple eating fries, an old man reading a newspaper, and a trucker half asleep in his booth. Crowded? Not even close. Me. We should meet here first. Typing bubble. Stop. Typing. Stop. Finally. Ava. Fine, I'm already outside. My chest went tight. I turned slowly toward the parking lot. A silver Ford Ranger. Engine running. Driver staring straight at me. Hat pulled low. I forced myself outside. Hey, Ava? I asked. The woman nodded slowly. Her voice didn't match the one on the recordings. Flat, monotone. Get in. Not a greeting, not excitement, a command. I hesitated. We can talk here, I said. She opened the passenger door. That's when I saw zip ties on the dashboard and a wooden bat on the back seat. Something clicked in my brain. Pure survival. Her smile twitched. Hungry. "You look just like your pictures," she whispered. I stepped back. She stepped forward, and everything inside me screamed, "Run." "Don't make this weird," she said, stepping closer. "You already said yes." There was no emotion, no anger, no nervousness, just certainty, like she'd done this before. My voice barely worked. "I'm not going anywhere with you." She blinked once, slow, like an animal sizing prey. Then her jaw tensed. "You're not leaving." She lunged. I didn't think. I bolted. Gravel sprayed under my shoes as I sprinted inside the diner and slammed the door behind me. The old man with the newspaper jumped. The trucker swore. "She's trying to take me. Call the sheriff," I gasped. The waitress, the kind with too much experience to doubt hysteria, grabbed the phone. Outside, the woman stood at her truck door, staring through the glass. No running, no yelling, just watching. The sirens came fast. Small town advantage. Deputies swept the parking lot with flashlights, hands hovering near holsters. But the Ford Ranger was gone. No dust trail, no taillights. It was like she vanished into the desert. A deputy named Carter questioned me in a booth, pen tapping against his notepad. "You ever met her before tonight?" "No." "You give her your address?" "No." He scribbled something. "You talked to her online?" "Yes." He looked up. His expression softened. Not pity, but something close. "You're not the first." My blood went cold. "There are 3 missing boys across the West with almost identical reports," he continued. "Same app, same type of meeting, same kind of truck." My throat locked. "So she targets online." "That's our working theory." He slid his card toward me. "Keep your doors locked. If she contacts you again, you call me. Immediately." I nodded, numb. As I drove home that night, every shadow felt wrong. Every passing pair of headlights made my pulse spike. By the time I reached my driveway, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely fit the key into the lock. For the first time in years, I slept with the lights on. Not because I was scared of the dark, but because now I finally understood what could be hiding inside it. Life didn't go back to normal. Not really. For weeks, I triple-checked the locks, closed the blinds, and kept my phone on silent. But I couldn't delete her profile. A piece of me needed proof it was over. Maya noticed the change immediately. "You're jumpy," she said one morning, pouring coffee. "Like someone's watching you." I forced a laugh. "Just tired." But she didn't buy it. That night, she walked into my room, serious face, arms crossed. "Tell me." So I told her everything. The messages, the diner, the truck, the police. Maya didn't interrupt, didn't judge. When I finished, she exhaled and said quietly, "You're not stupid. You wanted connection." Anyone would. For the first time since that night, I felt something loosen inside me, like I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. Weeks passed. Sheriff Carter updated me twice. No leads, no sightings. But something else changed too. My phone would light up with notifications from Connect Me. Not messages, just a typing bubble. No text ever appeared. Just the dots. Then gone. The first time it happened, I froze. The 5th time, I deleted the app. But it didn't stop. Late October at 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. No voicemail, no text, just the missed call notification. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. Then I blocked the number. The next morning, while I was leaving for work, I noticed something at the end of the driveway, half buried in gravel. A white zip tie, new, unweathered, placed, not dropped. My heart thundered so loudly I barely heard Maya come outside. "Liam, you okay?" I swallowed hard. "We're installing cameras." She didn't ask why. She just nodded. That night, motion lights glowed across the yard like artificial moons. The porch stayed lit until sunrise. And somewhere out in the desert, a Ford Ranger was still running. Months passed, winter creeping in. turning the desert air sharp and thin. I tried to move forward. I applied for school, worked extra shifts, forced myself into routines, but the fear never fully left. It lingered under the surface, like a warning. One night in early December, just past midnight, I was lying awake staring at the ceiling when my phone vibrated. A notification. Unknown number. Image attachment. My chest tightened. I opened it. The photo was grainy, taken from outside a window, my window, looking into the living room. The lamp was on, the couch empty. She had been here, watching. Another message appeared. Unknown. You should have gotten in the truck. My hands shook. A third message followed. Unknown. But that's okay. We have time. My breath broke. Survival instinct kicked in. Not panic, not paralysis, movement. I grabbed my phone, my shoes, and went straight to Maya's room. Get up, I whispered. Now. To her credit, she didn't question. She saw my face and moved. Sheriff Carter arrived in 8 minutes. We reviewed the cameras, motion alerts, wind, a stray cat, but no footage of a person. No truck. Carter rubbed his jaw. She knows what she's doing. She's careful. Then he looked at me with a heaviness I'll never forget. You need to understand. This isn't about meeting you anymore. It's about control. I nodded, throat tight. If she reaches out again, he said, don't respond. Ever. That night, Maya and I packed bags and left the house behind. I didn't sleep. I waited, silent, alert, half expecting another message. But none came. And somehow, that silence was worse, because she wasn't gone. She was just waiting. I still live with cameras. I still check my rearview mirror more than normal. And some nights when the desert wind rattles the windows, I swear I hear her engine somewhere in the dark. Loneliness can make danger feel like connection. Trust is something earned, not given to a screen, a voice, or a stranger who knows what you want to hear. I always thought dating apps were for other people, louder people. People who went to rooftop parties and posted pictures of cocktails with captions like, "New beginnings." That was never me. Before everything unraveled, my life was simple. I worked as a barista at a busy cafe in Capitol Hill, lived with my fiancée in a small apartment that always smelled like coffee and her vanilla candles, and believed my future was mapped out. Wedding in a year, maybe a dog after that. Nothing dramatic, nothing wild. Then 2020 happened. The pandemic hit, and the cafe cut staff. Temporarily, they said at first. It wasn't. The shop closed for good by the end of summer. My fiancée started working from home, then started working late from home, then started staying at her coworker's place, just to get more done. By December, she was gone, with a guy she'd met on a dating app. That detail dug the deepest. By the time early 2021 rolled around, I was living alone in a one-bedroom on Leary Way, Nadwolo in Ballard. The building was old but clean. The kind of place with thin walls and quiet neighbors, where you heard someone sneeze in 4B but never learned their name. Seattle felt half asleep. Streets muted, bars barely open. People kept their distance, literally and emotionally. My days blurred. I woke up late, half-heartedly sent out job applications, scrolled through social media, and tried not to think about how replaceable I'd been. Nights were worse. The silence crawled under my skin. One Tuesday, close to midnight, I stared at my phone like it was a lifeline. I told myself I was just curious when I downloaded the app. Just looking, just seeing what's out there. I kept thinking of my ex meeting someone that way. If she could move on, maybe I could too. That's what I told myself when I created a profile. That's what I told myself when I swiped. And that's when I saw her. Luna. Her profile wasn't like the others. No vacation photos, no group shots, Just a single close-up. Pale skin, black hair with streaks of silver, unreadable dark eyes. No smile. Not exactly traditionally pretty. Not exactly not. Just intense. Her bio was short. I don't like small talk. I like confessions. My thumb hovered over the screen. It felt unsettling, like something in me was already on the hook. I swiped right anyway. Instant match. A second later, a message popped up. Luna, you live alone, right? I blinked. Me. Yeah. Why? Luna. Makes things simpler. I forced a chuckle, even though no one was there to hear it. Me. That's a little creepy as an opener, you know? Luna. You're still replying. She wasn't wrong. Over the next few nights, she messaged me only between 2 and 4 a.m. Never during the day, never casually. Her questions weren't normal getting to know you stuff. Have you ever woken up and felt like someone was standing over your bed? What's something you did that you'd never admit in person? Do you think you could disappear without anyone noticing for a while? When I tried to flip it back on her, I got nothing useful. Me. So, what do you do for work? Luna. Everything about me is temporary. Me. Okay, vague much. Luna. Safety is in vagueness. I told myself she was just edgy. Maybe a writer. Maybe someone who liked scaring people a little. I used to be more cautious, but months of isolation had worn that down. Another thing bothered me though. Her location bubble, distance from you, kept changing. Sometimes it said 5 miles away. Sometimes 1 mile, sometimes exactly 0.3 miles. Once, at 3:09 a.m., I watched it blink from 0.3 to 0.1, then back. I whispered, glitch, to no one. Apps glitch all the time. Still, I checked my deadbolt twice that night. On the 6th night, just as I was about to put my phone down, a message appeared. Luna. Let's meet. I stared at the screen, rereading the message once, twice. Me. Where? A moment passed. 2. Then. Luna. Old ferry terminal near Pier 57, Saturday, 12:15 a.m. I scoffed out loud. That's specific. Me. Middle of the night at an abandoned terminal. That's how horror movies start. Luna. If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't warn you first. Luna. Besides, you won't say no. You're too tired of being alone. That last line hit harder than it should have. All day Saturday, I told myself I wasn't going. Then the hours crept by, and suddenly it was 11:30 p.m. and I was pulling on a jacket, telling myself I'd just drive by, not get out, just see. The waterfront was almost empty. Streetlights reflected on wet pavement, and the air smelled like rain, salt, and rust. I parked my beat-up 2008 Outback a short walk from the fenced-off ferry terminal. Broken signage, dark windows. The kind of place the city forgot about. At 12:16 a.m., I saw her. She stepped out from the shadows like she'd always been there, hands in her coat pockets, shoulders relaxed. The picture hadn't done her eyes justice. They were darker in person, almost too still. You came, she said quietly. Yeah, I replied, clearing my throat. Didn't know if you'd actually show. I always show, she said. No smile, just a statement. We stood facing the water, waves slapping against the old pilings. She didn't ask normal first date questions. If someone disappeared standing right here, she said, looking at the black water, how long do you think before anyone notices? I tried to joke. Depends if they still had rent due. She didn't laugh. Do you think anyone would hear you scream with the waves this loud? She asked next. Is this your thing? I asked, trying to sound irritated instead of nervous. See how fast you can freak out a guy? She turned to me, expression flat. I picked you for a reason. My throat went dry. What reason? She stepped closer, close enough that I could see a faint scar near her hairline. Her voice softened. "Because you're the kind no one checks on in the middle of the night." A cold ripple went through me. I stepped back. That's when her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at the screen, and for the first time, I saw something change in her face. Annoyance. "Not tonight," she muttered. "They're watching." "Who?" I asked. Her grip clamped suddenly around my wrist, stronger than I expected. "Go home, Ethan," she said, voice low. "Do not delete the app. Do not block me." Before I could answer, she let go, turned, and walked toward the dark corner of the terminal, slipping through a gap in the fence like she'd done it 1,000 times. I didn't follow. I ran for my car. My hands shook the entire drive home. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting headlights to appear behind me. Nothing did. Inside my apartment, I locked the door, slid the chain, then checked the peephole twice. The hallway outside was still and empty. Finally, I collapsed onto the couch and opened the app. I needed to see her profile, to convince myself this was just a bizarre, bad date. Except her profile wasn't there. Not unmatched. Not user deleted. Just gone, like she'd never existed. Our match history was empty. No conversations, no name, no photo. Somehow, the notification bubble at the top still showed one unread message. I tapped it. One chat thread remained, no profile picture, just a blank circle and a single line of text, time-stamped, 34 seconds ago. Do you ever wonder if your choices are really yours? My mouth went dry. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Me. Luna? Another message appeared before I could hit send. Next time, don't run. A third notification buzzed. An image. My thumb hesitated before opening it. It was my apartment door, taken from the hallway, taken close enough that whoever held the phone could have reached out and knocked. My skin felt too tight. I moved to the peephole and stared out. Nothing. Just the dim yellow light and the same bland door across from mine. I called the non-emergency police line anyway, stumbling over my explanation. An officer came by, calm but clearly skeptical. He asked to see the messages, the photo, the app. By the time I opened it again, the chat was empty. No messages, no picture. Just my own confused reflection in the dark screen. They checked the building's security footage the next day. "Sir," the officer said over the phone, "we didn't see anyone near your door last night. No one matching your description of her anywhere on the cameras." "No one?" I asked. "No one. Not even you leaving or returning during that time frame. Are you sure you're not mixing up nights?" I wasn't sure of anything anymore, except that I knew what I'd seen. Weeks passed. Life didn't exactly return to normal, but it found a new groove. I picked up a part-time job at a small coffee stand near the ship canal. I kept my head down, answered texts from the few friends I still had with vague, "doing okay" replies, and avoided mentioning online dating. The app stayed on my phone. I couldn't bring myself to delete it, not after her warning. I didn't open it much, but I couldn't uninstall it either. It just sat there, like a sealed box in the corner of a room you're afraid to look inside. At first, nothing happened. Then, one night, my phone buzzed at 3:12 a.m. A notification from the dating app. New match. My heart kicked up. I lay in bed staring at the screen, arguing with myself. Finally, I tapped it. The screen loaded. No new profile, no messages, just the home menu. The notification bubble stayed on 1. The next night, at exactly 3:12 a.m., it happened again. New match. Again, nothing there. I changed my password. I contacted support. They sent a canned reply about technical issues and ongoing updates. The notifications kept coming. Some nights it was just the phantom new match. Other nights it was worse. A push notification would flash. Someone nearby liked you. When I tapped it, Nothing. Once, just once, I thought I saw a name flicker at the top of the screen before it vanished. And then it refreshed. Now I sleep with the TV on and a chair propped under the doorknob. I tell myself I'm being paranoid. I tell myself it was stress, grief, isolation, all mixing into something that felt real but wasn't. Then, a few nights ago, I woke up to my phone already unlocked, the app open on my screen. I don't remember touching it. The room was dark except for that cold glow. At the top, a single message sat in a blank chat. No name, no picture. Time stamped, 3:12 a.m. I told you, I always show. I stared at the screen, listening. The building was silent. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere close, was awake too, watching their own phone, waiting for someone lonely enough to swipe right. Loneliness can be louder than fear, and when it is, we start ignoring the alarms we would normally trust. Technology makes it easy to feel connected, but a profile, a voice, or a perfectly timed message doesn't equal safety or sincerity. The lesson is simple. Protect yourself first, always. Don't ignore red flags because you're tired of being alone. Don't meet strangers in isolated places. Tell people where you're going. Trust your discomfort, even if you can't explain it. Not everyone who finds you through a screen deserves access to your real life or your front door.